Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Tulley, President and Executive Writing Coach at Defend, Publish, and Lead, and welcome to our limited series, Real Life Sabbatical. Some of you have been listening to episodes where you have heard that I'm on sabbatical for the spring semester of 2024. And because we have so many clients asking about what to do on these and how these work and, what's it really like to have one, I thought it would be a good experiment to record some of the things that I've been working on during my sabbatical and some of the things that I'm not working on. So as a kind of a reminder about this limited series, this will be much more informal than our usual weekly podcast episodes. So episodes will come out as I'm able to make them. I don't know how many we'll do. It will just be a limited series in real time about some of the things that I've been doing and not been doing. The other thing with this particular series is I want to make sure that I capture all the aspects of the sabbatical, not what am I writing? How many words am I writing a day? What kinds of things am I publishing? All that's great, but I think it's also important to capture what are all the other things that are happening on a sabbatical and not happening. I'm sure I'm going to get some writing done. I'll definitely have that in some of the episodes. But I thought for this first episode, I would just capture what have I been up to in the first 3 weeks where I'm officially off duty. So my semester started, I believe, around January 7th. I'm not totally sure because I didn't have to be at the first day of class, which was wonderful. It's just such a wonderful privilege to have one. And our semester ends around the first week in May. So one of the things that I ended up doing for this first sabbatical week, I knew I have a loose plan. So let me back up for a second and just say what are some boundaries that are happening with it. One of them is that I will be a visiting scholar at Ohio State in a group called Project Narrative in the English department, and I'm working on an article about interview research with faculty about their writing processes. So that's one of the things that's happening this semester. I purposely made my start date near the end of January because I just knew I haven't had a sabbatical in about 7 years. I haven't taken any time off from work, really. I've worked through the summers, worked through 2 pregnancies and so on. I just knew this is a time that I actually am able to get some work finished. So I just wanted to make sure that I was able to knock some things out. So I knew that I just needed some time to just collect myself before I started working. And that was just fine because they also started, I believe, a week later than we did anyway. So that's the first thing. The other thing is I'm not technically off duty with my university. I am from teaching, but I also direct a graduate program in rhetoric and writing, and I'm still responsible for new students that started this semester. I'm also responsible for our thesis students that are trying to get some work completed. Students that they are not actually in my classes, but as an advisor or a faculty supervisor, I'm responsible for them. So those are some that are, those are some of the duties that I'm still carrying. For the next couple of weeks, really till February 1st, I'm also responsible for our mid-tenure faculty who have to submit dossiers on February 1st. So while I'm released from teaching, I'm not released from that contractual obligation. And I'm saying this just because this is the reality for many of the sabbaticals at comprehensive universities, smaller liberal arts colleges, and so on. Many of us are not free to just disappear for 16 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it is. And I'm saying that because I think it's really important to see what can get done during a time of sabbatical and what can't. And I knew that these first couple weeks in January would be busy with students, and they'd also be busy with those faculty because I can't let those duties really go until a couple weeks into the semester. So that's the first thing. So the other thing is I wanted to say what I did. And so I really tried not to put a single thing in the first week of the official week of the semester because I knew a couple of things were happening. One, this is a spring sabbatical. I tend to like to take them in the spring. This is now my third. I've been very fortunate to get one every 7 years. So this is a shout out to private universities that still allow those and, have some of those luxuries. So it's been fantastic. But I always take them in the spring because I know that I have to go ahead and do a lot of work in the fall with my graduate program. So spring is an easier time for me to take it. And so I also know, though, I am gone on vacation in around the winter break, Christmas time period. We celebrate Christmas in my house. And so when I come back from vacation, there's Christmas decorations everywhere that need to be put away. And it takes me a good week to do it. They're all over our house. We really like decorating. So we've got a Christmas, 3 Christmas trees and stuff all over the place. And I knew that I wanted to put stuff away instead of shoving it into boxes and tubs like I do every single year. I wanted to just take some time and put things where they belong and throw out broken items and really do it right, because I knew I don't even know if I'll be in this house the next time I take a sabbatical where I could do it. So I took a full week and just worried about putting some stuff away. And then I worked on some other projects that I felt like I just needed to get a grip of what's happening in my house and what's happening in my life before I start thinking about scholarship. And so I thought I would share this screenshot. I know some of you are on audio only. I wanted to just show some other things that I was up to, because I think a visual aid helps here. No, for the record, I'm not going to make full on slideshows and things like that like I do in other episodes. So you won't see these little pictures in the show notes. If you want to see them, you got to watch them on YouTube. We will do show notes, of course, because a lot of times I'll put references in there, but I won't put slides in there. And so what's on screen is really 3 pictures of things that I think represented a lot of work getting completed. Because even though it doesn't look like it's visible scholarly labor, I would argue it is. And I'll say why in a second. But the 3 pictures are this. The one on the left of my screen shows a planner. I've mentioned this planner before. It's a hardbound planner that they no longer make. I'm totally blanking on the name of it, but they no longer make it. So you're not going to be able to get one of those. But it basically is just a goal setting hardbound planner that has pages for every week, and then a goal setting page for the week to start the week off. There's tons of planners like this. So this one isn't made anymore, but I have a bunch of them because I knew they weren't going to make it anymore. And so I bought a bunch of them. So I have them. And I decided, even though I was in the middle of another one, and this sounds totally wasteful, I opened up a brand new one just to start clean so I could get back into the habit of every morning really figuring out, where am I supposed to be right now? What are some things happening this week? What are some goals? Because the nice thing about having a planner that has you kind of think through on like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday before the next week starts, the nice thing about having the goal pages to start off a week lets you really think about what you want to accomplish. And I knew I had to get back in this habit. So I really am paying attention to what kind of scholarship am I supposed to be completing this week. The other thing that I like about it is that it also has spaces where I can just make some lists about things. And the other thing I want to work on in earnest is to try to get some organization going in my home. I'm very fortunate to have a home. It's a nice house. It's got some good storage space, but it's a mess. I have, several other people here living with me, and, one of us is neat out of the 4 of us. So you know who you are, neat person. Well, actually 2 of us are kind of neat. The other 2 of us are not, and we know who we are. And I am not one of the neat ones. But just things that have needed to be done for a long time that were starting to waste time for me in a way that it was starting to eat into my writing time. It really was. So the middle picture is showing my recently reorganized closet that has all kinds of stuff. It has the extra school supplies for my children. It has Easter baskets. It has shelves with like wrapping paper. It has all our extension cords. There's a box of candles on top of like a red shelf thing, and lighters and flashlights, because we've recently had more power outages lately. And after a while, I just started throwing in like half-used candles and stuff like that. So I have one bin, I know where it is, and I can get it if we ever need it at nighttime, which we have. So I did take the time to clean this closet out, because out of all the things in this house, this closet was the one irritating me the most, but also killing my time for 2 reasons. One, every time stuff falls down in it, you can't get the door open. But 2, anytime any of us need extra school supplies, note cards, scissors, glue, I needed something for a project I wanted to do with one of my classes last semester where I needed these different color highlighters. All of it lives in these shelves. I've got some stuff in my office, but a lot of it is here. And so this is a way that now everybody isn't, needing to find things and I have to like rip everything out of the closet. So I know for sure it has saved some time for me because one of my children was working on a project where she needed a lot of note cards and she needed all these supplies. I was able to just say, here's all the stuff. She went and worked on her project. And while she was doing it, I got 2 hours of writing completed. So it was totally worth the effort to clean it out. Plus, it was something that needed to happen 5 years ago. So totally worth it. I pitched a lot of stuff and now I can find everything that's in there. Like looking at it, I know where everything is. The other thing that I did, that's the third picture that I'm showing, is a landing in our house, like kind of at the top of a stairway. This landing has been a dumping ground for probably 2 years where there's been garbage, old shoes, old clothes, lots of bottles, like drinking water bottles, metal bottles, old lunch boxes, you name it. This is where everybody just throws stuff because it's up high, so you can't really see it from our front door. But it's also kind of a passing through place, and it's a little bit out of the way. So this is another spot where I just went through everything that was up there and tried to decide what it is. And here's another way it saved me with some writing, because what was buried up there were a couple of books inside of a bag that I need for a project I'm doing this semester that I thought for sure I had lost, and I was about ready to buy them again and actually like take the labor to do it. But since I had found that bag, I was actually going to a writing session later that day. I could take the bag with me with the books, look at them, and remind myself, why do I even want these for this semester? So just getting myself a little bit set up. So I would argue that, spending time on these things, yeah, they're kind of like home organizing / time management, not really doing any writing, but at least in 2 cases, they did enable some writing. So, some other things that I've been doing as I've been kind of working through these first couple of weeks, I've been trying to tackle more of those organizing things for sure. Like as I see things, I'm just trying to do little projects here and there. For me, that's been really helpful. So as I'm working, I can stand up. If I've been writing for a while, I can stand up and do a little thing, come back to it. So that's been really useful. Some other things that have been really helpful to do have also been more hobby type things. I've been playing my guitar a little bit more. Normally in a regular semester, I play tennis once a week, but I've been able to up it to twice. So, these are some things that have been happening. I should also say with a caveat that not every day has been sunshine and roses and I have all this glorious free time, because a couple of things happened on top of each other that really have kind of taken my time. One, somebody hit my car. That takes forever. You got to get a rental. You got to do the insurance things. You got to do all that. So that was unexpected, takes some time, but that's life. And so it can still happen in a sabbatical when you're like, oh, these days are precious, happen when it's not a sabbatical. Not really how it works. So yeah, that was something that took some time. Another thing that happened where I thought I was being proactive, but didn't think it through for this particular semester. So this is kind of a tip for people planning sabbaticals. I thought I was being really smart, planning all my kids' dentist appointments and all that kind of stuff in July. So it was in the summer. It wasn't really hitting during the school year. Nobody was missing school. It's all good. But if you go to the dentist twice a year, the other appointments land in January. So one thing I did not really look at until I got into that planner last week was, oh, I've got like 6 doctors, dentists, etc. types of appointments. My one daughter has to get her wisdom teeth out. We had to do kind of that consultation, that whole appointment that ate a whole bunch of time. So, a lot of these days have been really, really fragmented. So they have not been the big days that I've been dreaming about, like having all this time, because I did the proactive thing and moved a lot of stuff that happens twice a year in the summer. So had I thought about that a little better, I would have changed some things around. So I would have missed the sabbatical window, but it is what it is. And the other thing that I will say that has been really nice about it is that for once, I'm not driving 90 miles an hour to get to an appointment on time because I've crammed it in between 2 other things. I've jammed stuff too tight. So I try really hard not to do that and to put some breathing room between things, but sometimes it can't be helped. There's just no way for me to make all of the pieces fit. So those have just been some things I've been working on. And then in addition, I'm going to try to do some of these sabbatical episodes just to kind of hear like, what does a real life sabbatical look like? I know also if I was listening to this episode, I'd be super disappointed that I didn't talk about how many pages did I write or how much did I get completed. So I'll give you a quick overview of where I was on writing. So for my actual sabbatical project, I have given myself permission not to really worry about that until I go to my kind of first day at Ohio State to get all acclimated and get off its keys and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to really worry. I have some notes and things like that I already did last semester, but I'm not even going to open that stuff until that first day. So that said, the other thing I've been doing for these 3 weeks, I have been writing, and actually writing a lot, because I have a book project I'm doing with 2 co-editors, and our final manuscript was due. So that, to me, that would have taken priority anyway, since I always like to work on the projects that are the low-hanging fruit and trying to get through some of the things like that. So the last couple of weeks, I have been writing. I could not tell you how many hours I've been writing per week, but I would estimate, I think I'm pretty much still around like 10 hours a week when I try to do between 8 and 12, like in a normal semester. I would say I probably was still doing about 10 hours a week. The difference this time around, though, is that some days I was doing like 5 and 6 hours, and then maybe an hour here or there, another hour here or there, something like that, rather than my very systematic, like 2 hours a day. But other than that, that has stayed relatively the same. The other thing to think in mind, or to keep in mind with my next sabbatical updates, and we'll see, because I'm in Ohio, in the US, where weather is crazy right now, ice storms, tons of snow, tons of school canceling, you name it. I'm supposed to start on January 29th for us, to actually go to Ohio State, get my keys, get my office. I know there's some things I want to do in the library. I've got some faculty I'm going to talk to. So I know all those things are going to happen. And I'm not going to really worry about a project until that point. But I do know one of the things, kind of looking ahead, that's about a week away from where I am right now. I want to make sure I know what the project is that I'm working on, what kinds of things I need to get going on the first day. So this next week, that it's kind of like, I don't know, I think I have like 7 days, 8 days, something like that before I actually will go there. One of the things I know I'm going to do is really make this list of what materials am I always going to need to take with me when I go there. I will be staying there twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. I don't live there, so I've got a little bit of a commute situation, like a commute with a stay. And so one thing I really started thinking about is, how am I moving materials back and forth? This might be something for your sabbatical. So I still have kids at home. I really cannot be gone for like weeks at a time. I don't have that kind of luxury, but I can do a scenario where I work one whole day there, stay overnight, work another whole day there. And for reference, I'm around 90 plus miles away from where I need to be. So I'm not that far, and I'm able to do something like that where I can get those longer periods of time, so like a night away from home, but I can't take 7 nights away. Or if I can, it's got to be very, very infrequent. So I know for me, I have to think about, how am I moving materials? And even with a sabbatical where you're staying wherever you are, if you're doing like a research trip, I think this is a really good thing to keep in mind, because I realized, like, this is a bigger project I'm working on. I need a couple of the books, like the ones I just found. I also need some ways to take some notes. I want to make sure that I've got like the highlighters I want for things. I want to make sure I have the right hard drive that I want to take with me. Another thing I started thinking about is, at my, when I write in my office, or write in the library at my university, I can walk to my office and go get my headphones in 2 seconds if I forget them. But this is another thing where I just started thinking about, like, what are all the things I really truly need to be able to sit down and get some work and make the most out of that time. So those are the things I've been thinking about. I don't know how many episodes of this sabbatical series we'll make. I'll try to show some real life pictures of what's happening. But I'm hoping that I can kind of clarify, like, what does it really look like to do a sabbatical, when you're trying to manage other pieces of your life, and you can't just, escape for like a year or 12 weeks and nobody cares where you are. A lot of people care, so I have to show up. Also, I will say, I did not say very much in this particular episode about things I've been doing for Defend, Publish, and Lead, but I have been able to devote a little bit more time to that business, to our writing coaching business, because I am on sabbatical. So I've been able to think through some bigger initiatives for the company. How much time I spend on that, I honestly don't know. But once I start working in earnest, I am going to look at time and say, okay, this is how many hours a week I was able to do this thing. Here's my hours of this other thing, and so on. So hopefully you found this helpful, and I'd love some feedback. If there's any questions that you have about sabbaticals you want me to answer in these particular episodes, I'd be happy to do that, show you how I'm working. But happy writing this week, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions.